All right, welcome everyone. Today we'll be looking at section 1.5, a little bit of review of solving inequalities. Just a little review of some of these symbols. This is a less than symbol. This is a greater than symbol. If you have one of these symbols, you're going to use an open circle when you plot your inequality on a number line. If you have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, you're going to use a closed circle. And if your inequality is less than or equal to, you shade towards the left. If you kind of look, it's kind of pointing towards the left. It kind of makes like an arrow. If you have a greater than or equal to, you shade towards the right. If you kind of look, it's pointing towards the right. So a lot of times it's pretty straightforward. If you ever forget which one's which, if you hold your hands in front of you with your palms facing away from you, your left hand will make a less than symbol. Your right hand makes a greater than symbol. So that's always an easy way you can keep it straight if you forget. But let's just review a little bit of just kind of plotting our inequalities on a number line. So this is what you're going to do once you get your answer after solving today. So our first one is x is greater than 4. Since it's just greater than, it's going to be an open circle. So that would be an open circle at 4. And if you look, my inequality is greater than, or it's pointing towards the right. So we just shade towards the right. Similarly, x, the next one we have x is greater than or equal to 4. You would put a closed circle because it's got that equal to, and it's also shading towards the right because it's greater than. Our next one, we have x is less than 4, so that would be an open circle. And since it's less than or pointing towards the left, you would shade towards the left. Similarly, with our last one, well, it's less than or equal to, so it's going to be a closed circle, and it's also pointing towards the left, so you shade that direction. So that's going to be kind of, when you get your answer, you're going to have to plot it on the number line you'll see today when you're trying some problems. But how about you give this one a try? Just see if you can plot this one on a number line. I'll pause the video, give you a chance to try. All right, assuming you gave that a try, you would put a closed circle at -3 because you got that equal to. And since your inequality is pointing towards the right or it's greater than, you would shade your number line to the right. And when you're doing this today in Delta Math, just make sure when you click and drag to draw your line, you're going to go all the way to the end of the number line, like whatever direction you're going. Okay, so that's just a little bit of review of graphing inequalities, but really what our big idea today is just solving inequalities and then graphing our results. The big idea is this is the same how we solved equations, so pretty much everything applies, but there is one thing you got to be careful for. When you're solving, if you divide both sides by a negative number, so if you divide both sides by a negative number, you got to flip your inequality. And what I mean by flipping your inequality, if you had a greater than inequality, you're going to have a less than inequality. You just flip it around. If you had, let's say you had less than or equal to, well, now it's going to be greater than or equal to. So you kind of, if you divide by a negative number or multiply both sides by a negative number, you got to flip your inequality. So just kind of be careful for that when you're doing problems. An easy thing to miss if you're not really thinking about it. But our first problem here, we have x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 13. So just like we would solve for x in the equation, you kind of subtract 5 to both sides. You do the opposite. So that would cancel, and you keep the same inequality. So it's greater than or equal to 8. So that's our answer. Now we're just going to plot it like we did earlier. So we would put a closed circle at 8 because it's got that equal to sign. And since my inequality is pointing towards the right, I would shade to the right. How about you guys give this second problem a try? See if you can solve for x and then graph your inequality. Okay, assuming you gave that a shot, you would subtract 5. That would cancel. The reason you subtract 5 is because this is a positive 5. So the opposite would really be like a -5. So you're really going to minus. But you would have x is less than 2 because 7 minus 5 is 2. So that's your answer. So we just got to plot this. So we're going to have an open circle at +2. If you look, your inequality is pointing towards the left because it's less than. So your graph or your number line would look like that. Let's look at one that's a little bit more going on. So this one, if we're solving, like I said, we could start by distributing because we got a number in front of parentheses. So remember, when you distribute, you just multiply. So we're going to multiply by -3. So -3 times 2x would be -6x. -3 times -5, well, that would be +15. This +1 just comes down. And we're just going to keep the greater than or equal to 4. I'm just going to clean this left-hand side up a little bit. You could, I mean, that the 15 plus 1, that would be +16 if you combine those like terms. Now we're just going to solve. So we could subtract the 16 over. We have -6x greater than or equal to -12. Okay, so I'm going to divide by -6. So sorry, I'm running out of space here, but once I do that, I'm going to have x. But since I divided by a negative number, what's going to happen to my inequality sign? Well, I'm going to flip it. So instead of being greater than or equal to, it's going to be less than or equal to. And then -12 divided by -6 would be 2. So then I just plot this like I would. I'm going to put a closed circle at 2, and I'm going to shade towards the left. If you don't flip your inequality, you're going to shade your number line to the wrong direction. So that's why you got to be really careful. If you see you divide by a negative number or even multiply by a negative number, you got to flip that inequality. How about you guys give this last problem a try? I'll put this one up on the board in a little bit here. We'll go over this one as a class, but do be careful because you should be dividing by a negative number in this last one. Have a good day, everyone. Hopefully this video was helpful when you guys get to your Delta Math assignment today.